Lots of interesting things going on in the world right now. Everybody, do me a favor, hit the like button. If you just take 2 seconds and tap, tap, tap that like button, I would really appreciate that. That would mean a lot. That'd be great. Do me a favor, everybody type in the chat down below, OTVO, overturn Terry versus Ohio. Just type that in the chat, OTVO. All right, let me show you guys something. This is going to send you guys just absolutely reeling. You are not ready for this chick's breakdown of how crappy these piggers are. She breaks this down so good. She explains this so well. And you guys have noticed maybe lately, the last few lives, I've been talking directly to the piggers, and that's because they watch my channel. If you're young, I ran into this young guy the other night in Las Vegas Metro Police Department. And when I walked up, he said, "Hey, Chille, I love your channel." And I heard him say it. And then I won't tell you the rest because I audited them, and I'll show you guys what happened in that audit. But that particular young man, who's 20 years younger than I am, when I walked up to you, dude, you could do something else with your life. You're not stuck. You're not stuck in that dog crap being a pig job. You're not stuck there. I tell you, it feels like you're stuck, doesn't it? It feels like the cops above you hate you, the cops below you hate you. You're always worried that someone's going to tell on you for breaking some sort of policy or procedure or some ridiculous new rule that they created to mess with your life. And I got a cop buddy named Green. So from Mr. Green to Cop Izzo, both of them told me that part of the biggest problem of policing in general, working as a cop, I can't call you guys police officers because the whole ranking system is the reason why it's ruined. It's a big part of why it's ruined, because your allegiance is to the person above you, your lieutenant, your captain, your major, your commander, whatever you want to call those people. But that's one of the biggest problems of policing for profit. Policing in general is that your allegiance is the person above you and you have to follow orders. You come in that day and that dirty pig tells you, go out and give tickets. And then you have to, because that's the lieutenant, which is the whole reason why I can't stand the ranking system, ranking people. With that being said, I want to show you guys something right now because this chick nailed it. She nailed it. So, for all the people who just, I would follow her into war. This woman could lead. I would be happy to lead her. I would be happy to follow her lead and follow her into war. She's a total badass. She lays it out. Wait until you hear this breakdown. This breakdown she does is so good.
If you work in law enforcement, I have a very important question for you. One which soon may be a matter of life or death. I'm sure some people become police officers just so they can boss other people around. But I'm going to assume here that you mean well, that you want to be one of the good guys. In which case, my question is this.
So she's talking to the cops like I'm talking to the cops, because you can't think a good person would sign up to be a pig, right? With the current policies and procedures, why would you sign up to those policies and those procedures? And that's what she's going to do. She's going to call out the character of the men and women who sign up to be a pig. That's what she's going to do. And I'm going to listen.
Is there anything the politicians could enact into law that you wouldn't enforce? Is there any order that you would refuse to carry out? Or will you do absolutely anything your bosses tell you to? In the US, police have already obeyed orders to fine or arrest people for a wide variety of harmless activities, such as dancing at the Jefferson Memorial or having a vegetable garden in their front yard. Police have even gone so far as to execute violent paramilitary raids on food co-ops and organic farms. For decades, police have been carrying out armed home invasions, forced property confiscations, and other acts of violence against people who weren't hurting anyone, but who engaged in behaviors or habits which lawmakers have arbitrarily declared to be illegal. You may be comfortable in assuming that you'll never receive an order to do something truly immoral. But the fact is, with every order you receive, you have a choice between obeying without question or relying on your conscience. No doubt there were cops a few years ago who never expected to be ordered to disarm innocent people, to do door-to-door home searches without warrant or probable cause, or to detain and interrogate people for merely driving down a road. Yet police have since been ordered to do all of these things.
You know, Josie,
and almost without
Josie, let me jump in with you real quick here, Joes. So I tried this in 2022, Josie. I tried what you're doing. I tried to find the good in these guys. And then I want to repeat what she says right here. She says, I'm going to go back, just listen to what she says here. Listen to the words.
Relying on your conscience. No doubt there were cops a few years ago who were expected to be ordered to disarm innocent people.
They were expected to disarm innocent people. I had the same thing, Josie. I had the same idea that surely you couldn't find a good person to sign up to do these things that are unconstitutional.
Do door-to-door home searches without warrant or probable cause, or to detain and interrogate people for merely driving down a road.
That's what they signed up to do. Like I used to have, thanks for the super chat, Peter. I used to have this idea. You can throw it up on the page, DLZ clips, but I used to have the same idea that these guys didn't sign up to do this. Like you didn't sign up to do that, did you? You didn't really sign up to be a jackboot thug pig, JBTP. You didn't sign up to do that, did you? And Josie's this sweet soul, and she is saying the same thing I was saying in 2022. Surely there's cops who signed up that didn't sign up to do Nazi checkpoints and go door to door or to pull people over for no reason. Surely, right? No. That's what they signed up for.
Yet police have since been ordered to do all of these things, and almost without exception, they obeyed. So it's not unreasonable to ask.
She's talking about the scamdemic.
Any point at which you will draw a line and say, no, that I will.
No, Josie, there's no point. They won't draw a line and say, I won't do it. They'll do whatever they're ordered to do.
And if you won't draw such a line anywhere, if you will do absolutely anything your political masters tell you to, how are you any different from the enforcers of Soviet Russia, Red China, or Nazi Germany?
They're not. They're the same. That's why when I go to those Nazi checkpoints that you see set up, I'll let them know each one of these persons is a Nazi. Each one of them will go down where some of their family members, and listen up, coppers, some of your grandchildren and great-grandchildren will deny that you were related to them because you go down in history as a Nazi. Fact.
You may be tempted to say, I don't make the law, I just enforce it. Or to argue that if some legislature, court, or some authority above you says it's okay, then it must be. But keep in mind that this is exactly what the thugs of every tyrannical regime in history said to justify their actions.
They sign up to be a thug. That's the whole disconnect here. And God bless her. I'm not bashing her. You saw me. I went as far as trying to like build a bridge with cops. Like, hey, let me help you. Let me crowdfund a new tattoo. So you're not wearing that blue striped terror flag. I was there in 2022. Avery, what's going on, Playboy? I was there in 2022, believing that we could make a difference if we reach the sensible cops. DLZ clips, is that audio done from Hannah? Okay, so DLZ clips has the audio done. You're gonna hear. I'm gonna play a little. Let's keep going on Josie. Let's let her finish before we start the next segment. But I'm gonna show you that what she's saying. They know what they're doing, Josie. They know what they signed up to be.
And how do we remember those people now? As courageous, noble law enforcers? No. Unless you want posterity remembering you as a heartless, mindless pawn of oppression, then you'd better decide, and decide now, where you will draw that line. Unfortunately, there's little indication that most cops have any line at all. The incidents of police officers refusing to inflict injustice upon the people are extremely rare. Even when cops say they personally oppose certain laws, such as marijuana prohibition, nearly all of them continue to violently enforce these laws against nonviolent people.
Right. We talked about this last week. Everybody remembers that female cop pulling her lieutenant or commander or whatever BS G.I. Joe loser military acronym they've attached to the front of their name. But the truth is the reason that video went viral of her pulling him off of attacking a handcuffed, torture cuffed suspect is because it never happens. Josie's saying, where's the good people? The guy not punching the guy in the face is holding his ankles. The guy not elbowing the guy in the chin is holding his hips. And then when they get in trouble, only the guy punching him in the face gets in trouble. And the cops who held him down, they did no wrongdoing.
In other words, they recognize these laws as counterproductive and unjust, but they choose to enforce them anyway.
Right.
For the most part, American cops seem completely incapable of disobeying immoral orders, and instead do what the enforcers of every other authoritarian empire have done, inflicting harm on innocent people whenever and however those in power tell them to, while accepting no personal responsibility for their actions. I hope you are better than that.
They're not.
Keep in mind, there are a lot of decent Americans who do have the integrity and courage to draw a line in the sand, a point at which they will disobey and resist violations of their rights by those in power. It may be that they
but none of those are cops. No, unless it's a gun thing where their gun rights could be impinged or infringed, then they don't care. If it's a jaywalking law where you can be arrested for that, they don't tell the other cop, don't arrest him for jaywalking. They don't do that. If it's a couple who has a heavy fight and they push each other, and then one calls the cops and says, my husband pushed me or my wife pushed me, they don't go, hey, you guys, do you want to spend an hour apart and see if you guys can work this out? I don't see any bruises or black eyes or anything on either one of you. So do you guys want us to sit here with you for, an hour instead of me having to take her to jail or having to take him to jail? I don't see any damage. So maybe you guys can sit here with me here and we can talk this out. They don't do that. They're not doing that.
To be disarmed. It may be that they refuse to cooperate with warrantless searches or refuse to keep funding a government. And there are a lot of decent Americans who do have the integrity and courage to draw a line in the sand, a point at which they will disobey and resist violations of their rights by those in power. It may be that they refuse to be disarmed. It may be that they refuse to cooperate with warrantless searches or refuse to keep funding a government they view as destructive and unjust.
They're all impossible. If you stop paying taxes, they target you individually and arrest you. They don't do any of these things. I mean, she's spot on. Josie, you're spot on. If you get to see this sometime, which you may see it, you are spot on. I'm not bashing you at all. You're right. I don't want you to think I'm in any way, shape, or form showed this video to slight you. I did not. I showed this video to show that a woman who obviously doesn't make videos for a living, so then what she does, she grabbed a camera, went out to some locations and started filming herself doing the lines that she had written, and she's saying, how come there's no good cops? Why can't a good person look at this and say, you shouldn't arrest this person for hit and run? Bumpers damaged like this. We have his ID. We know where he lives. If he gets away with it, he damaged a bumper this much. Ooh.
Whether you agree with them doesn't particularly matter. What does matter is whether in the end you are willing, if and when you are ordered to do so, to violently assault the dissenters for their disobedience.
Right.
When they draw their line in the sand and stand their ground, and your supervisors tell you to use whatever level of violence necessary to get submission and compliance from the resistors, will you obey? Yeah. If it came down to it.
Yeah.
Would you kill American citizens for disobeying politicians?
Yeah. Oh, so Josie, you got it backwards. You want to slowly pull in here, but at least right here, you got the lighting on your face correct. See the difference between that lighting and see that lighting? Way better. But you want to slowly pull in on this, just Hollywood stuff. I can just share some Hollywood stuff with you.
American citizens for disobeying politicians.
You put one in the chat if you think the cops on the next round of bird flu, do you think that they'll arrest you on the next round of bird flu? You think that they're going to force you to put something over your face on the next round of bird flu? Do you think they're going to make you do it? If you don't do it, then or jail, or you can't buy food, or you can't travel, or you can't go to a restaurant. That's why I left California originally. In 2021, when they started banning me from restaurants and bars, I'd go into a clothing store. They'd kick me out because I wasn't wearing, so, You put a 1 in the chat if you think the cops on the next round of bird flu would gladly shoot you. Gladly. Hey, he resisted.
Now, if someone is actually harming someone else, of course you have the right to use whatever force necessary to stop the attacker and protect the innocent.
Well, see, that's where we kind of lose ourselves a little bit here. And there's studies done on this that it shows that the brain has a little orgasm when we see somebody get hurt who's done an injustice to another. Your brain has a little boop boop. You have a little wee. I love this. That's why there's so many bootlickers and so many people on those crappy channels, because your brain literally enjoys watching someone be punished if they justly have done something wrong. So we have to fight that. Not any amount of force if someone's done something wrong. The appropriate, reasonable amount of force. The Fourth Amendment standard, the reasonableness standard.
But that would be the case even if you had no badge and no uniform. But when you try to arrest someone who hasn't threatened or harmed anyone else, but has only disobeyed some arbitrary regulation, then you are the one initiating force.
Right.
You are the one starting a fight.
Right.
You are the bad guy.
Yeah.
Now remember, the American Revolution was people forcibly resisting gun confiscation, warrantless searches, what they viewed as unfair taxation, and a number of other oppressions, all in the name of law, all carried out by law enforcers.
No. So the term law enforcer came around in the 60s and 70s when they declared war on drugs. The law, you'll hear law enforcement here and there through history, but really it began with the 1971 war on drugs. That's where it started. I mean, it was going on. You heard law enforcement, people enforcing laws, law enforcers. You can find it. You can find it in text. But if you really want to find it in text, it's after the 1971 declaration by Richard Nixon to declare war on drugs. So, and if you don't know this, there are canons of government. There are canons of government. And each canon has different things in it, different parts of the government. And he aimed every canon of government at declaring war on drugs. Administrative, legislative, Justice Department, everything was about the war on drugs. Every single canon of government was then faced to aim at the war on drugs, as though it was an evil mass killer coming to get us. And now we see that the war on drugs is a way to imprison us all arbitrarily. I smell marijuana. Now I'm going to search your car, search your house, kick your head in for smelling. And all he has to do is say he smelled it because we've created a war on it.
If you had lived back then, would you have been among the rebel colonists, the ones who refused to be disarmed?
Would you? Pop it in the chat. How many people here think you'd be? I don't want to say anything. If something happened in the United States, if something happened, which I would not lead, but if something happened in the United States and there was a rebellion, would you be one of the people to join it? I'm talking about a legitimate rebellion, but that would require that, from my perspective, that government officials, state government officials, openly reject the tyranny of federal law. I believe that is a true rebellion when you have governors, senators, mayors, when you have people who are supposed to be leaders, when they openly revolt, like the sheriff's departments around the country who are revolting against the ATFs, creating laws by using the administrative code that they were given. They were given powers.
Refused to pay taxes and resisted warrantless detainment and searches? Would you have sided with the signers of the Declaration of Independence, or would you have been among the redcoats, the law enforcers, assaulting, caging, or killing any colonists with the gall to disobey the king?
Well, I mean, and this is a good time to just remind you guys that Thomas Jefferson, in the Committee of Five, when they were shoring up the Constitution, he had a lot of this guy named John Locke in his head, that a lot of the things she's talking about. So 1775, 1776 is the great fight for independence. We're really fighting hard. And so we have the First Continental Congress, and it goes pretty good. I think we end up where it's not totally done yet. And so, but it's been going on for so long. It's in the summer, and they're like, we got to break this, and everybody break apart. They break apart, and they leave 5 people behind. They leave 5 people: Robert T, Benjamin Franklin, Thomas Jefferson. So I'm going deep in history here, but the point is that Thomas Jefferson then would write the Constitution, the majority of the Constitution, and he's going to be accused of plagiarizing 2 treaties of government written by John Locke in 1690.
And which side are you on today? Of course, the message you'll get from your superiors, the politicians, and your fellow officers is that it's not your place to decide which laws to enforce, and that as long as you faithfully follow orders, that you can't be held personally responsible for doing as you're told. But that is a lie, a horribly dangerous lie. At the Nuremberg trials, it was established that the excuse used by the Nazi law enforcers that they weren't to blame and shouldn't be punished because they were just doing as they were told did not relieve them of personal responsibility for their actions. And make no mistake, if you choose to blindly obey unjust commands, and one day your intended victims decide to fight back, saying that you're just doing your job will not make you bulletproof. It may be your own life you save by deciding now at what point you will choose to be a moral, responsible human being instead of just an obedient pawn of those in power. Ultimately, only you can answer the question of where you will draw that line. But really, the only moral, rational answer is this. If something would be wrong for you to do without a badge, then you shouldn't do it with one either. The idea that uniforms and legislation can give you special rights is both false.
So let's put that in context. Let me go back just a minute and listen to what she says here.
The only moral, rational answer is this. If something would be wrong for you to do without a badge, then you shouldn't do it with one either.
Okay. So I believe that a lot of the guys who come into my room, a lot of us recognize that we have an alpha personality or a sigma personality. And so we when the way I was raised, and my uncle really let me know when I was a kid, 2 guys are fighting, you don't engage. And there was no ambiguity about how my uncle let me know that you're wrong. You cannot 2 guys are fighting, you don't go in and start swinging. So to the badged, to the guys who have a decent soul in their police, you go flying into a fight and someone's really resisting, they're drunk and out of control, maybe did some meth, let's just have it your way. And two coppers got him, and one has an arm, one has the other arm around his waist. You go flying in there, you start punching that guy, tasing him. The rules of the street, the rules of men, the rules of violence still are intact. You using that badge to go in and take a cheap shot at another man, that's what I'm talking about. You coward.
The idea that uniforms and legislation can give you special rights is both false and horribly dangerous. Nearly every large-scale injustice in history was committed by people who wrongly imagined that their position of authority made it okay for them to do things that other people have no right to do. Like everyone else, you have the right to use force to stop attackers and protect the innocent. And when you do that, you are the hero. But you have no right to be the attacker, even if it's your job and even if the aggression is called law. Always, in every situation, you and you alone are responsible for what you do. Wearing a badge and a uniform and doing whatever you're told does not make you brave and noble or deserving of any respect. Just following orders is a coward's excuse. If your job requires you to assault or cage people who haven't threatened or harmed anyone, then quit. Being an actual protector, doing the right thing no matter what anyone else says, even if it means disobeying orders and breaking the law, that takes courage and integrity. That makes you a hero. So, do you have enough of a spine to draw that line? Decide now before your failure to think for yourself results in damage that cannot be undone.
Tell me where you stand if it comes around. and I can't really say anything else. You probably know why. I can't say anything else. But I just want to know where you stand on this one, and if it comes around the way people are saying some people are saying it's going to come around, then you guys tell me where you stand.